Hello everybody, welcome back. Another live stream. We are doing a book review. Candlekeep has been the requested one, certainly the biggest request in terms of the surveys, and therefore as a result of that, that's the one I'm doing. How's it going, Jasper Pearl? I'm going to have to be fairly quick in terms of getting things done. This is not following normal format that I do with my live streams. We are going to go straight into it. Hi Joe or Overboard DM. How's it going? I'm doing a quick sound check to make sure everything is working well. So, other than that, grab some food, drink, settle down. I am not going to muck around anymore because guess what? I have the Dungeon Master Roundtable today, which means I don't actually have time to hang around. I've got to be somewhere else in about 2 hours. So, therefore, I better get moving, eh? So you don't have to wait too long. Excellent news, right? Excellent news. Hi, welcome to How to D&D. My name is Fred Wheeler and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons. Well, actually this is a review and I would also like to point out this is the real How to D&D and my name is Fred, okay? Fred Wheeler, not Todd Kendrick. For anybody who might be getting confused on YouTube, okay? The real How to D, this is it right here. So the book review for today is Candlekeep Mysteries. Now I would normally do a flip through, but I've decided that's not the format I'm going to use for today. Instead, we are going to go straight into it and I'm going to talk in an overview. I've noticed that a lot of the people who have been talking about this book are simply regurgitating the actual events and story behind each little adventure inside the book, rather than talking about the construction and layout of the book. So what I thought I would do is, I would do what everybody else is not doing. So that's what we're doing for today. Whether you like that or not, I don't know, but I think that's more useful to you than simply going over what you can read in the book anyway. Okay, so I think it's about 19 different points I would like to make. And then I will go back over them in a bit more detail and spell them out for you. So I'm going to be fairly quick about each one of these. Okay, so the first thing is that it's great to see that Wizards of the Coast is making a collection of short adventures that is original. Okay, we had Ghosts of Salt Marsh, we've had Tales from the Yawning Portal, but these were retreads. They were already printed in other books and they just remade them for Dungeons & Dragons 5e. These are original stories, okay? They haven't been written anywhere else, so this is the first time we see them. And I think that's wonderful, okay? Now that doesn't mean that everything is sweet with this book. I would say the second point that I would like to make about this book is that these adventures will not tax your player character's combat skills. Some of them may, but it's probably going to be the later adventures rather than the earlier adventures, but I think that's very unlikely because high-level characters can pretty much deal with anything, okay? Trying to challenge them in combat really means you have to break every rule that you can possibly think of that the designers have suggested to you and that everybody else thinks you're supposed to follow to actually make combat interesting, particularly with experienced players. New players, maybe not quite so much the case. But there is a great aspect to these adventures, and that is that it is going to test your players' problem-solving skills and their investigation and exploration skills. And yes, there will be some social interaction. They're going to have to communicate with NPCs and monsters and figure things out. So it's a very different focus. And so if you don't have players who like to play that sort of game, maybe this is not the book for you. I mean, it could be, who knows? But I would suggest that it's probably not necessarily going to be the thing for you to run for your group if your players are not interested in solving problems. And if they're more into hack and slash, this is probably not the book for them. Okay, the third point is this book has a good contents page. Okay, Wizards of the Coast have made sure they have a contents page. Their contents page is usually pretty good. This one is. It does lack an appendix. Okay, there's no appendix in this adventure book. There's no index. Wizards of the Coast does this often. They do not include an index, and I think they should. Most reference books also include a glossary. There is no glossary in this book. I'm not quite so worried about the glossary, okay? But the lack of an appendix and the lack of an index, they really do need them. Okay, they really should be there, and they're not. Okay, 4, I would say the structure of most of these mini adventures is chaotic. It sort of looks like some people are definitely professional adventure writers and good at doing that. And then others are probably very new to it, or not very experienced, or maybe not even that good at structuring it. Maybe Wizards of the Coast did not give them a format to follow or something like that, because you really see them following the industry standard of adventure overview, the adventure hook, the NPC or non-player character details, if there are some to be spelled out, and then the location information followed by a conclusion. What you tend to see in many of the adventures is the lack of a adventure overview, and certainly a lack of usable adventure hooks that aren't really basic. Sometimes they don't really even include them at all. They just sort of assume you'll figure it out. It does follow the format. Most of the adventures, almost all of them, follow, there is information details on NPCs or non-player characters, location information's there, and then a conclusion. So you can count on those. But the first part that is usually expected in any adventure is not there, and then a lead-in. Now, with any kind of adventure, you would want to have something like a lead-in, maybe some box text to sort of help get things rolling. This is really useful for beginner dungeon masters, not so much for intermediate and experienced dungeon masters, because they can handle this sort of stuff. But that's not really following that kind of structure. One of the things I certainly picked up on early when I was going through the book. Many of the adventure hooks provided are extremely poor in quality and repetitive. Basically, you are in the Candlekeep libraries looking for books, and you come across this book, and this is what leads you on your adventure. So you play that card too many times with your players, and particularly if you're trying to string them all together, all these adventures together, it's going to get boring, it's going to get old. So you need to have something else, and they don't really give you that. There are some individuals who have written adventures, and they have given you between 2 and 3, sometimes 4 in some cases, adventure hooks where it works. You have a few options. There are other individuals who have given you one adventure hook, but it's not your standard adventure hook. They've gone away from you just happen to be looking at books in Candlekeep library. Okay? So just something to bear in mind in terms of you might have to do a bit of work with your adventure hooks with this book. Dungeon masters will have to sort out the lack of overviews and adventure hooks. Now, the thing is, when I say that the overviews of an adventure are not there, they're actually in a different location. They're not necessarily in the location you would expect. They're in a completely different location. They've actually compiled them on page 5. But they're not complete, they're like a sentence or two. So it's not a big overview. It's not enough information for some individuals. I think some people would look at it and say, okay, that's fine. Maybe they decided that was good enough. They didn't want to put too much structure in there. These are short adventures, so they won't have a lot of structure to them. Maybe that's what Wizards of the Coast was thinking of in terms of what was going on there. Okay, 7. What few monsters are in this book? Whatever they offer, they don't really stand out. There is a couple that are kind of cute and interesting, but they don't really stand out, and they are scattered throughout the pages of the book. They are not in a nice, easy-to-find location, like they're not indexed because there's no index. They're not in an appendix, so you have to you have to find them. They're going to be associated with a particular adventure. So that's a little bit of a problem. They do use or reuse some of the monsters or NPC stat blocks from one adventure to another, and they do reference it, okay, which is good. Okay, they do reference it in later adventures. So that's slightly helpful. But if you're the sort of person who's cherry-picking this adventure, and this is what this book is really designed for, is homebrew, okay, and using bits and pieces, finding stuff is going to be difficult. You're going to have to page mark everything yourself. So that's a bit of a drag, if you ask me. There is a handful of new magic items that need to be, well, carefully hunted for to find them. They're actually quite difficult to find when you look at the book. And frankly, I was like, did I make a note of that magic item? And then I forgot about the fact that because there were so few of them. And of course, they're not indexed and there's no appendix for the magic items. So another drag if you're the sort of person who's only wanting to use specific parts of it. You have to kind of wade your way through the entire thing to find everything. Okay, now, there's some negative stuff there. But I would also like to point out that the stories behind each book relate to different adventures, and they're actually wonderful. I mean, the kinds of books, the stories behind the book themselves, they're all unique and they are really good. And then the actual story that the book takes you on, they're all really, really good adventures. They're very unique in their own way. Some, I would say, are certainly better than others, and some will appeal to you more than others. But they are certainly worth your while. So just because of all the other stuff doesn't mean the book is a bad book, because it's not. Okay, most of the small adventures have exceptional and unique mysteries to explore. And that's the sort of thing you want. Uniqueness, in fantasy, uniqueness is incredibly important because that's what players are looking for. Now, I was looking at the artwork. I know a lot of people dislike the artwork that is currently put out by Wizards of the Coast. I can understand that. That's fine. I would say the artwork is very colourful. It's a lot of watercolour. It certainly looks like watercolour. It's very cartoony to a large extent, but it's still evocative. Now, is this appealing to a younger audience or rather than an older audience? Because, some of the artwork going right back was quite edgy and quite provocative. So I can kind of understand why they're going with it. But I don't actually think there's anything wrong with the artwork in the book itself. The maps are consistent right throughout. They're using Dyson's very practical, clear, simple, black and white style. For those of you who are wondering what sort of map style they're using. So that's the style they're using, and you do get a map. Pretty much, I'm pretty sure there's a map for every single adventure. I'm almost absolutely sure of that. So you don't have to worry about trying to, I've been given a location, I have to make a map for that. No, that's not going to happen. Now, what I would say is, with regard to the layout of this book, this is the worst case of short adventure layout I have experienced from Wizards of the Coast, ever. I've never seen a book lay out short adventures from Wizards of the Coast for Dungeons & Dragons 5e in particular as badly as this. And there are many third-party companies that are doing far better jobs than Wizards of the Coast when they are formatting and laying out and making a short adventure easy to follow, easy to run, and quick to prepare. And these don't do that, okay? So that means you have to do a lot of work, a lot more work than you should. And I would like to point out that Paizo used to be the Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 adventure writing company. Wizards of the Coast got them to write the best stuff. Now, Kobold Press, or Kobold Press, if you want to say it that way, they do, I would say, the best short stories ever. Their format and layout is actually quite consistent with what has been done in the past, and yet Wizards of the Coast didn't follow this. And this is one of the biggest issues with this book. Now, there is a map in the back. There is a pull-out map in the back of the book that is very pretty. It's a general area layout of the castle. It's only single-sided, so there's nothing on the other side, which I think was a waste of time. I mean, why would you do that? You're going to print out a map and you've only got it one-sided. You could have used the other side as well. Are they saving money? I don't know. I mean, you've already spent so much money making this book in the first place. Why not spend a little bit more? But the problem with that map is it's completely useless. It is completely useless as any kind of productive tool to show to your players or even the dungeon master to use. because it's so general in its area layout. It's not like it is a gridded map, or it's a map that sort of shows you the specifics of Candlekeep Castle, which probably isn't practical because it's so large and it's never been well defined anyway. And maybe they decided they did not want to define it. But this book just looks like an isometric, pretty map. Imagine Castle Ravenloft, but with nowhere near the detail that you would get from that particular map. Once you see the map, you'll understand. Okay. Anyway, but I was not impressed by the map in terms of a tool for Dungeon Masters or even as a player handout. Okay, so Candlekeep Mysteries is the only Dungeons and Dragons. I would like to say Candlekeep Mysteries is, as I say, the only Dungeons and Dragons 5e adventure book that went bestseller on Amazon in half a day. Okay? Not even the Curse of Strahd did as well as this. The Player's Handbook went bestseller, right? But that's not an adventure book. To make an adventure book go bestseller, people must really want this thing. That's how desirable this sort of format and this type of adventure book is. Okay, I would say for sure that Wizards of the Coast is going to make more adventure anthology books where you get a series of different small short adventures, and there are 17 of these things in this Candlekeep Mysteries. So I would imagine, since they have sold so many of them and it's an adventure book, that you can be guaranteed they will do more. So hopefully Wizards of the Coast will learn from their mistakes and do a much better job next time, because this really should be the future of adventure books for Dungeons and Dragons 5e. Because a lot of people are taking pre-made adventures, pulling pieces apart, taking sections of it and incorporating it into their own campaign or their homebrew adventures or campaigns. So this sort of thing is highly desirable. Okay, there is a couple of things I would like to point out just very quickly, 2 more points, and that is these adventures are not really suitable for a beginner dungeon master. I was looking at them and I was thinking, no, this is not like the Lost Mine of Phandelver. This is certainly nothing like Dragon of Icespire Peak. I still think that Lost Mine of Phandelver is the better Wizards of the Coast beginner adventure that they have ever put out. I don't think that Dragon of Icespire Peak does it as well. These adventures are a little bit more difficult, and I think that it would have been asking too much to make them completely easy for a beginner to run, because mysteries are always like that. You know, when you deal with a mystery, it's always hard to actually do that well and make it easy to understand, because there's lots of little moving parts. You've got to drop your clues along the way, and players, unless you're doing it in such a way that they can't possibly miss them, then, you know, that sort of eliminates the choice option. But that's one thing to bear in mind, is it's more useful to a intermediate to experienced dungeon master. I think intermediate to experienced dungeon masters who've already run a few adventures, kind of got their footing, will understand how to deal with this book. So if you're a beginner dungeon master, go and play or run The Lost Mine of Phandelver or something shorter, but not this book. Not yet. You come back to this later. Now, for those of you who are wondering, well, okay, what about the adventure summaries? You know, there is some. Some of the adventures do have a summary. You know, an overview of what actually happens during the adventure, or what the players are going to be expected to try and do. Okay? Some of them do that very well. Some of them don't do that so well. But there is a page 5, as I said, that gives you a very quick adventure summary on each of these adventures. So that's useful. Okay, so what about some of the other aspects of this book? I think one of the more amusing aspects to a book like this is that a lot of people are looking at this as, well, I just wanted a standalone one-shot, and that does it well. I mean, they are one-shots. They are standalone. They are their own entity. Some of them will require more effort and work than others. What about if I want to incorporate it into my own campaign or homebrew adventure? Well, anytime you ever do something like that, you're always going to find that you have to do something with it. Okay? There's always a time where you have to make adjustments. So anytime, and anybody who's running their own homebrew campaign or running their own campaign that's not pre-made knows this, that they do need to actually do a bit of work to make it all work and fit together well. Now, what about if I want to take the book and run it as a whole campaign? That's going to require a lot more effort on your part because there's no single thread that ties everything together other than they are essentially located at Candlekeep. Okay, that's it. Candlekeep Castle, that's the only tie-in. All of the adventures start off essentially either around it or at that location. So if you wanted an overarching villain or story connecting all of them together, that's going to require a lot more work. And this is why so many YouTubers are going to make guides. I know that Matthew Perkins is going to make a guide. I know that No Fun Allowed is going to make a guide. I suspect there'll be more YouTubers making guides for this than you can count. I mean, it's just going to be very, very common. So if you're worried about that sort of stuff and how to fit it all together and how to run these adventures and how to come up with decent hooks and have an overview, I would imagine they are going to do all of that in video form and probably have a print summary or document for you that you either get off Patreon or they provide for free and you have to get it off some other website. I don't know. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I know there's plenty of people looking at doing that. They've already stated they're going to do it. But tying it all together is a hard thing to do. Okay, let's have a look at the chat. I know that there are people who want to ask questions, so by all means, we'll do that. And I need to be fairly quick. I need to be gone by 11. Just bear with me. I was just going to type into here, hashtag question. Right, where are we? Hashtag question dot please. Did I get it in there? My eyes aren't great. Let's grab this here. That might help. It helped a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. Okay, let's press the button. And then we'll pin that, and then we'll get into the chat, and I will certainly say hi to as many people as I can. And then I'm going to grab the book. It'll be in front of me, and we're going to talk about it because that's the whole point of this thing in the first place, is to actually give you sort of an overview, and then from there sort of spell out some of the more specifics. And I will certainly be looking at page 5 for those of you who wanted to sort of me to read out some of the summaries. And then I will kind of, I guess, I would like to also say that I would say that a lot of the later adventures are probably, I guess, more interesting. They incorporate monsters, creatures, and NPCs that are significantly more interesting, I think, than some of the earlier adventures. Now, that's not just to reflect that the writers of those adventures are bad at their job, but the options available to you at higher level are significantly greater in terms of the threats you can put up against the player's characters compared to lower levels. It is actually much harder to actually come up with an outstanding focal point and villain and monster at low level. They always sort of come off as being, well, this is what they can deal with because they are such a low level. Okay, so Jasper's here. Hello, Jasper. I think I said hello to Jasper. Overboard DM. Hello, Joe. Gaming Kitten 2. Hello, how's it going? Night Terrain, hello. Yeah, well, it can be late. It's all right. Look, the live stream will stay public. It's not going to go unlisted, okay? YouTube's changed. I have to change with them. Now, I got to go just to say hi. Yep. Look, hopefully what I gave you was useful. Gaming Kitten. Hopefully what I gave you was useful. Scotty V, hello Scotty V. Ralph is here. We've got Matt Nerdy and we've got Ethan Perry. Hello. Now, moving through here. Big Kid. It's been a while. I haven't seen Big Kid for ages. Hello, Big Kid. Your brother has Candlekeep in his backstory. I hope this will work easily to infuse some ideas I have. Look, so I would say to you that the background, the Sage background, if you could get all your players or a good portion of your players to have the Sage background, no matter what class they have, that would have a very good, strong tie-in to them spending a lot of time at Candlekeep Castle and in the library. You just need to give them a good supply of books so they can spend time there. And they don't have to be, they don't have to be overpowered. They just need to be rare. They could be a manuscript. They could be a diary entry. They can just be a single page from somebody who's really important that's been lost to time. So, yeah, just things to bear in mind. Fred Daniel, how's it going? Oh, yes, right. So, Fred Daniel has just acquired Kobold Press Prepared. Yes, Prepared is an amazing book. When you see Kobold Press and how they have designed and laid out Prepared, which is a one-shot, it's a single map and one-page adventure. That's it. And they give you everything you need. I mean, I don't know how they did it, but it's clear to me that they know what they're doing, that they really know what they are doing. And also, too, another good company that does really good adventures that are shortish, and that is Quest Givers. And it doesn't matter what game system you're playing, they do a really good job. The Book of Lairs, the first one, there have been follow-ups to the Book of Lairs. Kobold Press has put them out. There's Prepared 2. Not quite as good as the first Prepared, I would say, but still excellent. It does feel more like an encounter rather than an adventure, some of them. Not all of them, but some of them. So those are excellent books. Those are the ones I know of, and I'm sure there are more. Okay. Yeah, they are so easy to follow. So easy. You can literally prepare these adventures in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. It doesn't matter. You could be a slow reader. It won't matter. 5 minutes and it's done. Okay, Night Terrain. I can't be as bad as Murder in Baldur's Gate, which I love. Oh dear. Well, I remember Murder in Baldur's Gate, and yeah, but that's a different kettle of fish. I'm not saying that Candlekeep Mysteries is the worst 5e book that they have put out. I'm talking about short adventure book, okay? And I wouldn't say that Murder in Baldur's Gate was a short adventure book. That was just an adventure, and it was never really published to be printed and put out other than for organised play. Okay, that's the only time I remember it being put out. I think they released it later on, but that's after everybody had had enough of Dungeons and Dragons 4e anyway. And I'm pretty sure that's the adventure you're talking about. Yes, okay, so Joe agrees about the map. Yeah, it's a shame because, they cost money to make. Somebody's got to put them together, so you want something that's going to be useful to you, and it's not really. Slice of Scott. It's been a while, Slice of Scott. Welcome. My players arrived at Candlekeep last session to Super Fred's point. I was burning up the pages slipping back and forth through the book. Yeah, there's a problem with that. Having to flip back and forth through the book is a bit of a pain. Now, to be fair, the shortest adventure I think is about between 7 and 9 pages, but some of these adventures are certainly like 15, 16 pages. So you're still flipping back and forth through a few pages to find stuff. And I can assure you, you can look through this book and you're like, where's all the magic items? Did I miss something? Was I not paying attention? Are my eyes old? Is my brain not functioning properly? The monster stat blocks stand out a bit more. but when it comes to magic items, you can pretty much accidentally walk right past the whole lot. Okay, moving through here. Hello, George. How's it going? Question. Are any suited to fitting into the Lost Mine of Phandelver? I would not fit them into the Lost Mine of Phandelver. I would run them after the Lost Mine of Phandelver. I believe it is Adam Lee. I believe Adam Lee wrote an adventure that I really like. Probably it's certainly at a higher level. I liked that one. I liked Amy Vorpal's adventure, but then again, the barn door has significance that I understand. I won't explain it in this live stream. But when I discovered that, I was like, I see where you're going with that, Amy Vorpal. Well, do you think anybody will understand the reference to the barn door? And then Dognuts, the NPC that Chris Perkins decided should not be included in the adventure. If I were you and you were running Candlekeep Deconstruction, I would absolutely include an NPC or change the name of one of the NPCs to Dognuts, because that name is like it was born to be used in a Dungeons and Dragons adventure. So yes, Amy Vorpal's got some balls, I'll tell you that. Her adventure is it is bat nuts. I loved it. I thought it was great. So we will look through page 5, and as I said, incorporating them into your own campaign is going to require a bit of skill. And your characters, when you come out of Lost Mine of Phandelver, are going to be level 5. So the only level 5 adventure... Sorry, I've got to take this off now because I can't see the book anymore. The Prince of Beauty is for level 5. Okay? But I wouldn't say that it's necessarily going to be suited as a transition from the Lost Mine of Phandelver. You'll have to look at it and think about it in terms of what your players are wanting to do. Anyway, back to the Q&A before I rattle through these adventures on page 5. All right, because I want to cover everything as I can. Joe. Okay. So Joe's asking, so after all of this, do you think you'd run anything from the book? Oh, yes, Joe. Look, there are problems with everything that Wizards of the Coast makes. There are probably problems with any adventure book that anybody writes, but Wizards of the Coast often have the worst ones. Okay, the only reason they sell more is because they have the IP, and people recognise that, and people don't really give third-party adventures a chance. They probably don't even know about them. They don't get promoted like Wizards of the Coast does all their other books. So adventure books from Wizards of the Coast sell even when they're not very good. This sold well. It's got problems, but it's definitely something I would run. Which is my favourite? Okay, I still think Amy Vorpal needs to be given the handshake for the most bat-crazy adventure, and just because of that, I'd pick her adventure. Just because she takes the kinds of risks that nobody else seems to be doing in this book, and really is very unusual. Launching one of the towers of Candlekeep Castle into space is a strange story, but I love it. Okay, Jasper, what do you got here? Question. I'm screwed, Fred. No, you can't be screwed, Jasper. Why are you screwed? I threw what? I threw off my DM training wheels because I thought I was ready for a big boy campaign. Oh no, you didn't pick up that one, Avernus. But I'm getting overwhelmed with the Baldur's Gate alone. Advice, please. Mate, Jasper, I totally understand where you're coming from. Because, a lot of people, particularly experienced dungeon masters, maybe some intermediate dungeon masters, will think that Baldur's Gate and Descent into Avernus is an excellent book. But then again, you don't know how much time they had to spend to make everything work. So this is not a book, Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus is not a book that I would run in its current form. I would have to do a lot of work to actually make that work for me. Okay, and I've been doing this a long time. So what happened to me recently and maybe this advice will help you, is I ran Dragon of Ice by a Peak. And I ran it not the way I would normally run it. I ran it because I ran everything because I knew I was going to have to do a video series on it, that people would ask me questions, because when I looked at the book, I could see problems. We got through that. Okay, we got through Dragon of Ice by a Peak, and then I decided that we would then transition from Dragon of Ice by a Peak to Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Now, Dungeon of the Mad Mage is so dense, it's so long. I mean, the kind of level progression is you do 2 huge levels and then you level up. I knew I could not run that kind of adventure once we had the pandemic and were running games online. I knew I could not cope with that. And I knew after doing 2 levels that my players could not cope with that either. If the progression was going to be like that, it was too slow and they would get frustrated. And so therefore, I had to make this horrible decision about, well, do I continue with Dungeon of the Mad Mage now that I have decided that was the adventure I would run after Dragon of Ice by a Peak? Now, it's not that it's a bad adventure, but there's so much there. And it's not that easy to run online because of the maps being so large. And it's quite complicated. And players need to be very patient to level up. So when I looked at that, I was thinking, well, what do I do? So I talked to my players and I said, look, I don't think we should continue primarily with that story. Now, there's no reason why you can't veer your story off and pick up something else. I would certainly suggest to you that if you're not ready to create your own adventures and homebrew stuff, then pick up Prepared or the Book of Lairs or Prepared 2 by Kobold Press or Kobold Press. Those are pretty good books, and you can integrate them into your story. Okay, I think that's a much smarter idea. Just decide, okay, that was a bit of a mistake to go towards Avernus. Maybe we'll do something like that in the future, but not this time round. Okay, and that is what I'm doing right now. I have actually told my players, look, I'm not going to necessarily give up on the storyline of the Mad Mage, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, but you're probably not going to spend most of your time underneath the mountain. You're not going to be an Undermountain exploring dungeons and those locations, because I just don't think it's going to work. And so I've used a lot of smaller adventures and seeded them in, okay? And it's working out all right. I wouldn't say that it's got no problems, but it's working out better than if I had continued doing what I was doing before. So that's what I would suggest to you, is just have a discussion with your players and then pick up some resources that allow you to sort of integrate something that you can use to move them in a different direction. Okay? It is a problem that many people will be experiencing. So many people experience the problem of transitioning from the Lost Mine of Phandelver or Dragon of Ice by a Peak into another adventure after that. Because they, instead of starting a new campaign and just starting at level 5, if they don't want to start at level 1 again, they try to just keep the story going. And that's sometimes not really practical or not very easy to do. I hope that answers your question and helps you out. Jasper, I really do hope that helped you out. Okay, Ethan, I used your suggestion for inspiration to include giving the enemies disadvantage. My players really like it. I bet they do. I bet they do. Just because players like it doesn't mean that it's always a good idea. But I can live with it. If you can live with it, she's all good. I also told them they could have up to 3 inspiration at once to encourage using them. Now, here's the thing. Banking experience points, some players just forget to use them. Or the other thing is you might wind up giving them inspiration near the end of the session and there's not an opportunity to use it. So allowing banking of experience, not experience points, inspiration, not experience points. Banking inspiration can have some problems because they'll save them up for the BFG. You know, they'll save them up for the big boss monster. and then unload all of them all at once, suddenly everybody's rolling with advantage and all the monsters are rolling with disadvantage, and it'll be a cakewalk, and you won't be very happy about that. So just be a little bit careful about allowing them to have up to 3. But yeah, I'm glad it is working out for you. If it is working for you, Ethan, then just keep doing it. Right. Okay. Overboard DM. Having the book on D&D Beyond will definitely be better at finding monsters and magic items. Yes, absolutely. Yes, having the online D&D Beyond book certainly will make it easier. But that's always been the case. It doesn't matter what they put out, because it's laid out in such a way that you can sort of click and find things very, very quickly. They have active links. So that's true. Yeah, and the search engine on D&D Beyond is pretty good. Yes, absolutely, Joe, I agree. For me, I feel Amy's is the best, absolutely. Amy wins. And for anybody who feels like I am a feminist, or is it woke? Is it WOKE or something like that? You're beating up the wrong bush, okay? This is based on the actual quality and ideas that she has presented. Okay? I'm the sort of person who is not very PC. I'm not politically correct. And I live in a country that is a socialist country. We believe in looking after each other. Okay? We don't just let people just fall into the gutter. So there's a lot of government intervention going on. So, and the vote for women was first in New Zealand. Okay, it's strange but true. So, but I'm not picking it because she's a woman. For anybody who's thinking I was being biased. All right, moving on. Thanks for the cool dice set. Oh my gosh, can I just say that those hollow Mind Flayer dice are the craziest thing I've seen D&D WoW put out. I put a post up on my community tab not so long ago. They got us. The original price was much greater than it currently is, and they dropped it. I was told it was a sale. I think it might be a permanent drop. I'm not too sure. I can't guarantee that. But on top of that, Emily from D&D WoW told me, well, look, can you promote this and we'll give away a free set of resin dice. And the resin dice look pretty good too, for free, along with any purchase of the hollow Mind Flayer dice. And I was like, okay, sweet. And much to my surprise, I get bombarded with emails from Emily saying, you have to do a video review on it. And I'm like, I do not have time. Okay, I do not have time. And she's like, we're selling so many. And I'm like, oh, well, that's good news. I'm glad. But yes, they are they won't be. I do not believe they will be balanced. You cannot do the kind of molding and have the kind of relief in there, because the dice just won't be weighted properly. Okay, but who cares? They look so cool. Heck, drill a hole somewhere and put a little weight in the side that you want to come up all the time. And if your D20 is rolling 20s all the time, well, just put it down to just really good luck. Anyway, I'm glad that people are enjoying those dice. Emily tells me they're going to have one that has a skull on it. I thought I should tell her to see if they can make one with a dragon on each side. A little dragon on each side would be cool. Or like a beholder, like a little beholder head with a little eye and mouth and little tentacle thingies coming off it, or some sort of design like that, like a beholder dice. I like that idea quite a lot. I don't know. But I haven't said anything to her because they're getting a little bit too excited. Anyway, moving away from that and the dice. Jaspers, thanks. I just find it difficult with all the city districts, the law, landmarks. There's a lot to remember. It's a big book. I mean, Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus is one of the larger adventure books. They put a lot of content in there. Did you know they had to replace a statue because it was a real person? I don't know. No, I wasn't aware of that. I really didn't pay attention to that. Look, when I think about some of the changes Wizards of the Coast do, they are trying to avoid getting hammered by social media about a variety of different things. And for me, I think that it's a little bit unfair to do that sort of thing. There are real issues, and that sort of campaign, I'm not sure that we need to deal with those sorts of issues when there are people who aren't getting paid equally or are living in slavery. Slavery still exists in New Zealand, and it still exists probably in your country and around the world. You just don't know about it. Anyway, Matt, how's it going? Okay, I'm sold on those dice. Those dice. Look, I told Emily, look, I know the sale goes till the 20th of May. So just send me the dice and I will show them the dice during a live stream very quickly and then move on. And she's like, no, we need a review. And I'm like, I do not have time. Also, too, when they go up onto Amazon, Emily has told me that those dice, you can still use my coupon code, FredFan2021, even on Amazon when it goes on to Amazon. So that's kind of cool. I don't know that you'll necessarily save any money. I think the price might very well be identical. But maybe if you're in the States, you would save on shipping. But they have I don't completely understand the shipping process for D&D. Well, as far as I can see, there doesn't seem to be a shipping cost on their products. But I could be wrong about that. Okay, Phoenix, hello, how's it going? Question. You mentioned a lot about Wizards of the Coast and the issues with their books. Yes, and you also talk about third-party books that are super good. Which third-party books would you recommend? Okay, I'm going to recommend... Look, I've done reviews on these. The book Prepared a Dozen Short Adventures. I recommend that. Absolutely recommend it. I recommend, not quite as much, but still it's a good book. Okay? The Book of Lairs. Kobold Press. That's an excellent book. The very first one. Now, these adventures are about 4 pages long, come with a map. They're inclusive. There really isn't any extra work to do. The problem with that book is, if I understand, you also have to have the Tome of Beasts. But you could replace some of the monsters with the monster manual if you wanted to. It probably wouldn't have quite the same feel because a lot of the Kobold Press monsters are very powerful. I mean, the monster manual monsters are tame in comparison. They're like little, those are training wheels compared to the other stuff. So that's one of the problems with the Book of Lairs. There's also Prepared 2. That's a very good book. I did a review on that as well. And if you want to see actually what's in the book, I do a flip through of all of them. They're excellent. Those are the ones I would recommend. There's another book I would want to recommend, but it's made by Mike Shea, and that's Random Encounters. And it actually includes some pre-made adventures at low level, and then it gives you all the tools to make your own stuff. Like, seriously, it gives you the tools to make your own stuff. And we are going to talk about that book in the future. And those are the sorts of things I would suggest sort of pursuing first. You'll notice those books are quite expensive, but I have not regretted buying them. I use those books. I'm still using those books right now. Right now, okay? I'll be using it tomorrow, for sure, when I'm running my game. Okay, Fender. Hello, Fender. I'm hoping this is the sort of thing. So Fender is a patron. I hope this is the sort of thing you were hoping for, Fender. I know we kind of discussed this stuff in the past. I have about 10 minutes. What was your code? It was, it's It's Fred Fan. So it's capital F RED FAN 2021. Look, I'll look. Give me a second. I'll put it on. It's probably easier to do it that way. Now the coupon code won't work on Amazon just yet because those dice are not up online, but they have decided to allow the coupon code to work on Amazon in the future. I don't know exactly when that's supposed to happen, but keep an eye out for it. Okay, look, let's have a look at the overview of these adventures on page 5, because I would imagine there's a few of you who would like to at least get a quick overview of each adventure. And I don't know if my eyes are going to work with this on, so there we go. I've got the glasses off. Let's have a look, and we'll read through each one. Can I actually do this with the light the way it is? I feel like I'm in the dark. That's because I am. It's the wrong time of the day. I have the sunlight coming through the window, so I have to put a towel up in front of my window so that I can actually do this. Okay, so the first adventure, The Joy of Extra-Dimensional Space. It's a level 1 adventure. The description is, a book leads the characters on a quest to find a missing sage. Maybe that's all you needed. I don't know. The next one is Mazfroth's Mighty Digressions. It's for level 2. A monstrous revelation sheds light on a book merchant's scam. You're welcome, Matt. I am glad it was useful to you. Okay, thanks so much for the Kobold Press recommendations. Excited for the Candlekeep Mysteries adventure book. Look, yeah, still get it. It just, maybe it's not the sort of the book you're going to be using when you're starting out. But mate, you'll look. People will use this book, okay? And I would imagine it's going to continue to sell well for many, many years. Okay, let's talk about the next one, the Book of the Raven. So that's for level 3 characters. A treasure map tucked inside the book beckons adventurers to a remote hilltop occupied by a secret society that shuns visitors. So that's your next one. A deep and creeping darkness. This is all on page 5, for those of you who are wondering where it is. Level 4 characters. A book describing a mining disaster prompts adventurers to search for a missing town. Shim's Bedtime Rhymes. It's for level 4 as well. I don't know why there are 2 adventures for level 4, but apparently there are. A catchy and contagious rhyme traces back to a sinister clockwork book. I mean, good Lord, a clockwork book? I mean, the stuff here is pretty cool. This is why I think so many people have been very excited about it. I can understand that. Next one, the Prince of Beauty, or the Price of Beauty, sorry. The Price of Beauty, not the Prince of Beauty, the Price. It's for level 5. A book about beauty shows the way to a secluded temple where beauty is only skin deep. Mate, it's got to include hags, and it does include hags. And that can always lead to problems, for sure. Okay, next on our list here, the Book of Cylinders for level 6. Engraved cylinders contained within a book tell of a gripping and potentious tale while rolled across wet clay. So it doesn't give you much, it just gives you sort of like the part of the seed, part of the overview, and then anyway. Okay, Sarah of Yellow Crest Manor. Yep, it is. Yeah, it's Sarah of Yellow Crest Manor. It's for level 7 characters. A haunted book points a ghostly finger at one of the proprietors of an unsolved mystery, mass killing in Waterdeep. So, okay, next one. Lore of LaRue. Now, for those of you who don't know, LaRue is related to unicorns. This is for level 8. The adventurers become immersed in a storybook conflict involving LaRue, the Unicorn Queen, and Melar, the Beast Lord. I know my players would, if I said there's an adventure about LaRue, they would like, yes, the Knights of LaRue are coming back, and would be into it. Okay, so yes, Jasper, speaking of the dice, Misty Mountain Gaming sells a dice set called Unicorn Spit. Unicorn? What? Unicorn Spit. Is that desirable? Oh, God. Unicorn. I mean, I call them unicorn, but why spit? I mean, I don't understand that. That's pretty funny. Okay, next one. Candlekeep Deconstruction. Level 9. This is Amy Vorpal's adventure. A stolen book leads the adventurers to a tower in Candlekeep that is more than what it seems. Yeah. We've got Zikran's Zephram Tome. God, I hope I pronounced that right. I can barely see it. This is for level 10 characters. So basically, a genie trapped in a book offers a wish spell to the adventurers who find a way to release the genie. Okay? Or jinn. The Curious Tale of Westera Vault. Westera Vault? I think that's Westera Vault. Okay, level 11. A book holds the key to unlocking a bard's prison. And that bard is not your standard bard. I like to point out. Next, the Book of Inner Alchemy for level 12. A search for the missing pages of a book puts the adventurers in conflict with the monks of the Immortal Lotus. You don't want to be in conflict with any monk if you can help it. What is it, Jasper? They're really pretty dice. It's got a strange name to them. Interesting. That's gross. Yeah, it is a bit gross. I was thinking that came to mind. All right, moving on. Get to the end of this because I have to get moving and I have to keep my voice because I'm sitting down with Wally DM and Luke and Mark. No, not Luke. Logan and Mark from Dungeon Class, and we're doing our first Dungeon Master Roundtable. And I hope it will be the first of many with multiple YouTubers. It's the sort of thing I always wanted to see on YouTube, and I always wanted to meet these people, and I figured you guys might be interested in that sort of thing. So we've got a plan. All right. Next one, we've got Skiverin's Tale. Is that Skiverin's Tale? Gosh, I don't know if I've pronounced that right at all. 14. No, I've missed one. Here we go. The Canopic Being for level 13. The book brings several puzzling organ transplants to light. That can only be trouble. The Skiverin's Tale, I think that's right. Level 14. A tomb leaves its magical mark on the adventurers, dooming them unless they can find a way to remove it. Now, this reminds me of Curse of the Azure Bonds. For anybody who played that adventure, it was an adventure on the PC. I played it many years ago. I always really enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. And this adventure stands out to me as being like just classic Dungeons and Dragons in short form. Alcazar's Appendix, level 15 adventure. A book chronicles an unsolved mystery about a wandering stone golem in the desert. And seriously, you actually get to explore inside a giant golem. Yeah, that's what we want. All right, and then we've got. Will I pronounce this right? Xanthora. I think it is Xanthora. Level 16 characters. A foul grimoire. I'm losing it. I'm going to drink water. A foul grimoire helps the adventurers end a fungal plague. There's a lich involved. There's a druid lich involved. Yes, that's exactly right. Who would have guessed it? Would have anybody even imagined that? So as far as I'm concerned, this book is the future of Dungeons and Dragons. These types of books are going to sell well. They're going to be useful to you. Just Wizards of the Coast needs to get their act together and present them a bit better so that they're a bit easier to run. And then we're in business. And I would, what I would really like Wizards of the Coast to do is make an adventure book like this, hardcover, and it's just full of one-page adventures with a map. And there's if you think about how many pages there are in a book, this thing has got 224, so 224, that would be something in the vicinity of 110 short adventures. 110 short adventures for different levels. I mean, that is the sort of tool that most dungeon masters will freak out about. Freak out. Okay, so I think we have covered everything that we needed to, which is good news because I got to get going and let my voice recover. So thank you for showing up. Whether you are it's the morning, night, evening, or the early morning, the afternoon, look after yourself, your family, and your friends. Be nice to your neighbors. Yes, be nice to your neighbors. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. Oh, I'm going to talk about Icewind Dale at a later date, okay? Hayden, I will talk about Icewind Dale at a later date. That is not an easy adventure to run, okay? And it's not easy for new players to deal with. But we'll talk about that at a later date.